Hello and welcome to Soups and Sabers. My name is Jordan. With me today is Chris. How are you today, Chris?
I'm doing really good. Really excited to talk about this episode.
And Ron. How are you today, Ron?
Doing good, man. Yeah, it's been a really fun last couple days, and we're just keeping the train rolling here with some dead. I almost did it again. I don't know why. I always do the Deadpool every time. Daredevil is what I meant to say. The words that were supposed to come out of my mouth. That is the discussion we'll be having today.
It's funny because I was asking my wife if I could watch this while we were sitting there because I thought she was falling asleep and she doesn't usually violent stuff. So I was like, oh, I think she's falling asleep. And she's like, no, no, I'm awake still. So I was like, all right. But then I come back in from taking the dog out, and she's like, I thought you said Deadpool. That's why I reacted that way. And I was like, oh, so it's not just you, Ron.
You know,
not just you. I did watch it that night, but I did it while I was folding laundry upstairs. And you know what? With one of the scenes that happened in this, probably a good call. She would not have appreciated the Gallo scene at all.
Crazy, dude. I not to jump too far ahead, but the way, I don't know how that ever got cleared. I'm glad it did, because now at this point, the bar has been set and there's basically nothing that we cannot expect, from these more mature Marvel shows. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I guess you would have found that a bit crushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're obviously talking about the finale of Daredevil Born Again. Season 1. We already know season 2 is coming. It's filming. I think the directors confirmed it's March of next year as well. So it looks like we'll only have to wait a year, less than a year, to get that. Feels like normal TV again in that regard. But we're talking about the finale called Straight to Hell, which was directed by Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, written by Heather Belson and Dario Scartapane, and it premiered April 15th, 2025 on Disney Plus. And yeah, it is the finale of season 1. Let's just go through some general thoughts here, because I saw quite a lot of praise on the old timeline.
Absolutely. Okay, I guess I'll jump in. I was like, Jordan, where are we going?
Whoever.
I thought it was a great episode. The only thing that I had problem with is I had to wait for more season 2. I thought it got me going with looking for season 2, but I thought the fallout from the shooting was a little rushed. That's really my only complaint. I mean, he's in the hospital and he's very quickly out of the hospital. The Punisher stuff was fantastic, especially when, the task force meets their idol and he calls them a bunch of clowns. Chef's kiss perfection. Wilson Fisk was on another level in this episode. This is like the ultimate Kingpin episode so far. I think this is the top Kingpin episode of anything we've gotten so far. And I would have liked to see more Bullseye. I would have liked to see a little bit more Bullseye. I'm kind of done with Matt Murdock's girlfriend Heather. She had a chance to get on the right road, but he said Karen when he woke up, so that probably ruined that. And she's into the Fisk train, but I really thought, the background scenes with the loyalty test with Fisk, there's just nothing I didn't like about this episode. In that moment where he wipes off Gallows' blood, I'm just like, it's a showstopper, guys. It's literally just unbelievable. Like, I can't believe I saw that on a TV show. And nowadays in TV, when I'm surprised, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, I would agree. I liked the episode a lot too. I think I much preferred I think the strong part of the episode was definitely the action. In terms of the story, there was no whoa reveals or anything like that. We opened up with the cold open showing us what actually happened with Vanessa and Dex, and it wasn't, it's basically kind of what we expected it to be. So it didn't really, like I said, blow us away with any of the reveals, but the action was crazy. I did see some people continuing to complain about the lighting and some of the action scenes, which like whatever. But overall, I thought it was probably like I would say maybe like an 8.5 finale. It definitely broke the curse of Marvel shows and their Disney Plus finales. I'll say that much. They tend to have a bit of a tough time sticking the landing, but they did with this. And I think it did for me what I think a good season 1 of a show should do, which is get you excited for a season 2. They didn't really, they paid off the mystery of who killed Foggy, but largely so much is still left up in the air at the end of this season. And that's, again, like I said, what a good season 1 of a show should be. There were some people complaining about that, feeling like, oh, we didn't really get the payoff to anything. But like, look at all of the best shows like that. You think of the best show that you can think of in your head, your favorite show. The hook is that end of season 1. Like season 1s always tend to start a little slow, which this show did not do, but they tend to go a little slow. And then really that sort of end of season 1 and then right into season 2 is what essentially makes or breaks most shows. So we are going into next year, and it's only a 1-year wait, not like a lot of the other waits we've had to endure between these shows. We have 1 year to wait, and we've got the entire table set for what's coming in season 2. So in that regard, I think they nailed it. I just, the show was a treat to watch every week, and this episode was no exception. A very good capper.
I enjoyed the episode, but I was not I'll say it didn't feel like a finale to me.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think the episode before that would have maybe made a better finale. Honestly, but
I think what I think it honestly was, Jordan. Like we knew that the original format of this show was that this was going to be an 18 episode season. This was essentially like the mid-season finale. That's what it felt like, and that's what it was.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can agree with that. That's probably part of it, is that originally they were going to be doing this very differently. It's just I don't know. I think there is a very real, what's the phrase I want to say here? Contingent of people out there who will praise stuff because it's violent. And I think that is why I saw so many people in love with this episode, that I think covered up some of its shortcomings for people, I would say. Because I've seen people say it was the best finale of a Marvel show, and I don't think that it is. I would still put like the 2 Loki season finales above this.
That's probably it though, for me.
Yeah, probably.
Loki season 2 was perfect.
I also think we're judging it a little differently, because those shows were meant to be more of like a actual finale. While let's say this didn't have a second season, would we feel satisfied about this finale? Probably not. There's a lot of stuff up in the air, right? Like, so I think part of it definitely is we know there's another season coming that kind of takes the pressure off of the other, that is not on those other shows. The other shows have that pressure of, we were doing 1 season and seeing if that was good enough, except for Loki, which also has one of the best finales, right? Like, so I think that is probably, when you look at the track record here, if it's a show that plans to have multiple seasons, they have better finales than the shows that have been wrapped up in 6 or 9 episodes as a whole. I don't know. I guess too, like, I was expecting a little bit more resolution at the end, not like a full resolution. I was either expecting more of a cliffhanger or more resolution. I felt like it kind of ended in a weird spot where it wasn't a huge cliffhanger and it wasn't also like resolution. You know what I'm saying? That like I could totally see another episode of this season and be like, okay, now this is the finale. And we'll see where it goes from from there. I am very excited though that this crew who took over is now the ones in charge, and have a full season that they can plan out, and maybe they'll, hit the landing better for me next season on the finale. I think when you only have 3 episodes to write and you're tying in stuff from 6 episodes that other people wrote, that was going a totally different way, it's very hard, I think, to do that. I do think episode 8 did that better than episode 9, but like, I know I'm probably coming off very negative. I don't mean it in that way. Like, it's still a good episode. It's just
not a real fan.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so we can dive a little bit more into the actual events and what happened in this episode here. So, like you mentioned at the beginning, we kind of get a cold open with Vanessa and Dex. They kind of explain a bit why, like, they tie this in with the season 3, which I really enjoyed, where they talk about Ray Nadeem, and I guess because the FBI was corrupt, that let Wilson off because it was kind of like widespread corruption.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, they didn't explain it fully, but that's kind of like the vibe it seems to be, is that because the FBI was corrupt, like, pretty much he was able to almost get off because of that after spending some time in jail.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by getting some sort of background on, okay, they alluded to it. It's not just like this gap anymore on, like, why are they out? And we get to actually see Dex get hired by Vanessa. So it also confirms what happened in, what was mentioned in the finale of not the finale, the episode before this.
Yeah. And it, we talked in the last episode about this, and like, would it have been Vanessa who set this up for Dex, or like, was it Fisk? Because I was under the impression of, like, Vanessa's got a lot of stroke in the criminal underworld, but like, does she have the power to go out and get somebody released from jail? Like, that seemed like a stretch, but apparently I was wrong in that regard. But I'll admit there was something later in the episode that kind of messed me up that kind of ties into this, because if she's got that kind of pull, don't you think she would have probably been smart enough to say, like, this guy that we just had killed because he's got a great case against us, maybe we, like, burn his files so nobody can ever find them? Because that's exactly how they end up, like, piecing all this together when Matt and Karen go and find his old, like, box of files and case notes and stuff. I don't know. It felt like a kind of a big oversight to me.
But they weren't their files. It was Foggy's files. That's why they had access to them.
No. Yeah, I know they're Foggy's files. That's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't Vanessa say, in addition to killing this guy, shouldn't we also destroy all of the evidence that, like, essentially would destroy our case anyway? Say somebody else, especially knowing who his friends are, knowing that he's best friends with Matt and Karen, and that they'd be, looking into it and stuff. I don't know. It just felt like a bit of an oversight to me.
Yeah, I think I can kind of excuse it away in the sense of, like, maybe those, like, Matt and stuff got it somewhere before they could, or maybe they thought that would draw too much attention to the case and put a more spotlight on why they were trying to cover this up, type of thing too. It could be something that they're like, oh, you took out the lawyer of it, which looks like just maybe a random attack on the bar. But now it's like, also, you may have torched, like, some paperwork in his apartment, or you broke into his apartment afterwards and took stuff. Like,
yeah,
people could kind of start putting the pieces together, I think, maybe on that.
Mm-hmm. And we did learn that Fisk knows too. He did make the comment of, I know, saying that to Vanessa. So, like, even if he wasn't part of, like, the whole thing, he definitely knows now.
Yeah, or he overheard it while they were dancing, because it wasn't like they were that quiet about it, right? So,
yeah.
I know what you're going to say. I overheard it. So I was totally wrong. I totally thought maybe Fisk would be like, all right, cool, he saved my life. Let's maybe go after Dex. He's like, no, let's just kill him. I do think this is the sound decision from Fisk, though, too, of, like, look, he escaped, so we might as well just, like, kill him so that way he can't talk pretty much when talking about Charlie Cox's character, Matt Murdock.
Oh, you refer to it as the sound decision. We got criminal mastermind Jordan over here. He knows how the game goes, bro.
I've been playing some LA Noire lately, all right? I understand motives and solving stuff. It was the sound decision, all right?
No loose ends, brother. No loose ends.
Yeah. From a criminal perspective, right? Yeah. Not from my perspective. That was the bad decision, Kingpin. I do not condone what you were doing.
I enjoyed how unhinged he was. I thought the fact that he was revved up by this to the point where he was screaming in the office and he demanded absolute loyalty and he wanted to go to extreme measures and then he took extreme measures. I think this was we ratcheted him up to a point where he was fully not thinking as mayor. He was completely Kingpin. And we got to the point where he doesn't care about that distinction anymore. He doesn't even think about it. It doesn't cross his mind. And I think that was the payoff of the entire season arc for him.
Yeah, he even says as much. He says, like, when he ran for mayor, it was originally to save the city, but he's, what is it? Opportunity presents itself or something like that. Basically implying that, like, yeah, maybe his intentions were pure at first, but a tiger doesn't shed its stripes. And at the end of the day, now he's talking about moving billions through Red Hook, which we, I guess that was a pretty big reveal, finding what exactly the deal was with that location and why they were building there. Now we know it's because it's essentially a free state. It's just an anything goes little.
What happens in Red Hook stays in Red Hook. You can do whatever you want.
Very topical right now. Red Hook would be worth a lot with its no tariffs and all of that. All of that stuff.
You're not kidding.
We're gonna rename it to the Hook of America. Quite frankly,
they probably make it the White Hook of America.
Yeah.
So we get the return of So before we talk about the return of Karen Page, we also get this fight scene in Matt's apartment after he escapes from the hospital. I was just thinking, because I saw this. Okay, so everybody was kind of expecting Foggy to be revealed alive, right? Like online, everybody's kind of expecting.
Thank God he wasn't. Thank God he wasn't.
Yeah, no, I think it's the sound decision from the writers here, not to bring him back to life. But when you have, I saw what Matt Ramos Soups,
Oh God!
When they showed the clip, like they did this as a teaser before the episode premiere of Kingpin's man going through with the bear, as he's going in as the get well bear, and he's gonna go like kill Matt, but it doesn't show who it is when it's walking through the shot here, and he was like, Foggy. And everybody was like, "Oh, Foggy's back!"
Oh man!
I saw that after the episode, and I was like, "Why do people run with stuff like this without like just thinking for a second? Like what? Foggy's gonna hear that he was safe. Matt was injured and okay, and he's gonna show up at the hospital while people are alive still. Like, I don't understand." What was going through, but they were like, they call him Foggy Bear sometimes. So he had a bear. It's Foggy.
Oh,
he's going
no way, dude. Are you serious?
Yes. It was so funny because people were like, "Oh, it's Foggy Bear. Like that's why they call him that." Like, it was crazy.
Okay, that's pretty bad. That's inexcusable. That's I want clicks and I have no impulse control. That's all that is.
Part of me is like, you know what? If people are having fun with it, let them have fun. But like, I don't know. We got to live in reality a little bit.
We can't pretend these people don't know what they're doing to a certain extent.
And the downside of it too is just like there will absolutely be people that will walk away from that and be like, they teased us, making us think it was Foggy because of the bear, because they call him Foggy Bear, and it's like. No, like none of that was intentional.
A lesser show would have done that. I feel like a lesser show would have brought Foggy back. And I'm okay never seeing Foggy again. Not because I dislike the character,
Well,
but
we're gonna see
because
him
it
again.
means
He's
well,
flashback.
yeah. But
Next
like,
season.
it means something that he died, and it's not
Yeah.
just this empty death. And now that we know the backstory of why he died, it'd be a little weird if Vanessa's just like, yeah, they kept him alive. You know?
Yeah. Because people were
It would
thinking
really
he had kept
unravel.
people. This theory, right, was they kept him alive, made him think he was dead, so that way, like, Matt would unravel or whatever. But that's not, the main motive behind this was because of the Red Hook thing. Foggy had figured that out. He knew he was going to get the case dismissed. He was, she goes and gets Bullseye to take it out. And also, I think it's probably smart from Vanessa as well because of that prior history that Bullseye has. So it's not just like hiring somebody. It can make it look like this is just unfinished business from Bullseye. And, then it seemed like she was going to dispose of him by putting him in the general population, right? That was what they were just complaining about. And maybe that would take care of him ever talking about it. And she would have had all of her tracks pretty cleared. It felt like a very Miss Kingpin type of thing to do. So we have Fisk, having them go after Matt still. He gets away from, he escapes the hospital. Before he escapes the hospital, though, he does he pulls a Ross here, and he calls Heather Karen as he's waking up. And she does not take this well. We also have Kirsten in there as well because she is friends with both of them. And I think, like, you would think Matt's reputation would be very good in the sense of how well of a lawyer he is. Now, I know he's dealing with Foggy and stuff, so maybe they think he's blinded by that. But, like, Heather is so dismissive about this being part of Kingpin's plot. When he's like trying to say it's all Kingpin stuff, she's like, "Oh, you're ridiculous," and she's like not very on board. But don't people know how well Matt is at his job? Like, I feel like maybe she just thought he was blinded by it. Well, he is blinded, but I mean, like, blinded by
it's just an abhorrent choice of words.
Yeah, that's my bad. That was not good.
One of the things that drives me crazy is clouded. That works very well. One of the things that drives me crazy about this season is that people in Fisk's corner tend to doubt Fisk more than people in Matt's corner, and it makes absolutely no sense. It's like there's like some authority with Fisk, and it's like, oh, why would he have this elaborate plot against you? And it drives me a little crazy. People should trust Matt a little more, even if they don't know all the Daredevil stuff. I am
gonna sound very hypocritical here because I can kind of see where Heather's coming from in the sense of one of her clients is Kingpin, so she probably feels like she knows him decently enough. And then you have, like, Matt just has like this hate boner for him that she's kind of like, dude, why? Because she doesn't know the Daredevil side of things. So, like, obviously, if you know he's Daredevil, you understand, oh, these two have clashed for ages at this point. Like, the last decade, these two have been going head to head on this type of stuff. So you might understand that a bit. But so maybe that's where she's coming from too. Is like, I know him. I've spoken to him and his wife. Like, you're sounding ridiculous. Plus, like, why do you hate this guy so much? And then it kind of like, even if he's like, well, I'm Daredevil at that point, she would still probably not understand fully because she's kind of anti-vigilante right now too. So she's kind of in this spot right now where she is like at the worst time, she has kind of had like the worst thoughts of like Daredevil and like most pro Kingpin at this point. I do wonder if her joining his team is legitimate at the end when she's joining the staff of Kingpin, or if she did suddenly realize at some point and is kind of going undercover. That's what some people were thinking. But I think we kind of take at face value that she's joining because she admires him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, I would agree. And I would also just say that there's definitely like a human emotional aspect there too, of like, she's been over the course of time progressively getting more and more pissed at Matt because he's always disappearing and he's distant when he is there, and just like hasn't been a good boyfriend by any sort of measure, really. So there's that little bit of like, okay, he's never around and he's not really here when he's here, but then he thinks he can just tell me like what to do and who I should talk to and this and that. There's almost like a natural sort of reaction to rebel, and be like, screw you. Who are you? Sort of thing. So I think there's a bit of that there too.
I didn't think it was that big of a secret, though, that Karen, Foggy, and Matt, on a personal level, had run-ins with Fisk in the past. Maybe without the Daredevil stuff, there's still something there that I feel like Heather should have a baseline knowledge of. I could be wrong because I'm kind of mixing the two shows together in my mind's tapestry, but I think Heather and his lawyer partner are both incredibly just dismissive of Matt, and they should know, especially his partner in the law firm, should know that he kind of has a weird sense about these things. Like he has a weird track record of being right.
I think in their head they just, I don't think you're wrong. I think in their head they probably just play the thing up of like, oh, he's very emotional right now. He's in a vulnerable state, just lost his friend. He's not thinking clearly, like kind of trying to brush it off, and they shouldn't, but that's basically probably what they're doing.
And if you care about him, you probably shouldn't say, we're going to have a talk at the end of this thing. Like if you really care about somebody, don't say that right there where they're lying in a hospital bed with a bullet in their heart, or their chest. So I don't know, man. I have a problem with the people Matt has surrounded himself with, and I'm very much looking forward to him and Karen being a team again, maybe with some sort of Frank in there.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Foggy's still going to come back too. So, like Dario Scartapane even had a quote today from an article that was like very vague in answering the question about Foggy. So it's like, I don't know. I am glad they didn't do it this season, because at least if they bring him back now, we'll have had a year to like sit with it, and like the moment will still have been impactful this season. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of the OG olds kind of back in Matt's life next season.
Yeah. Well, he's building an army, right? And then we see it cut to the least intimidating army I think you can ever have, right? Like, no shade to like Cherry and stuff. Like, I actually really like Cherry. I see some people seem to be down on Cherry, but I really like Cherry. But then you also have like Josie's part of this army. I'm kind of like, where's your friends at, Matt?
She's like, I'm not involved in this. What the hell? I'm just I'm
trying to collect some tabs. All right.
This is the downside of TV, the way the contracts work, the way that setting things up works, because it's, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage could very easily be a part of this, maybe even Iron Fist. You know that other Marvel characters are going to get in here. We're very much setting up martial law, Devil's Reign kind of a thing, probably without your Doc Ock multiverse stuff, Jordan. But I would hope so. The show seems a little too grounded for that. But I really think, we're supposed to just fill in the cracks. We're supposed to assume that it's not the bar scene being his task.
Yeah, no, this is him talking. I agree. I think people have made this a fun little meme, but like, it is obviously that's not all who he's referring to, right? Like, I do think if they weren't on like such a shortened timeline due to the rewrites and stuff, we probably could have gotten Jessica, Luke. Look, you're not getting Spider-Man. They said they can't do that. So you're not getting old Pete, but you're getting, I think, some of the Defenders. And I would even think maybe you get like the continuation of the White Tiger stuff with his niece taking up the mantle. Like, That's a
Kate
way to
Bishop
still
could
make
be
it
in there.
because there's a way to make this. I know people say about how like you can tell that it's been written by different people when you get to like episode 8 and 9 and stuff. There's a way to still make this feel like a cohesive show is by like continuing things like the White Tiger plot, but now like under Dario's writing and like, you know, still making where it's not like we're ignoring that and it's kind of like we're never going to touch on the stuff that was, you know, done before we got in here. So you can continue that and have her be part of the army as well. Like, I would think almost any vigilante that we could come across could end up, you know, putting on the cowl. The tough thing is if it's anybody like, I don't think you're getting like Moon Knight. I don't think you're getting any of those.
Really, that's what I was.
Yeah.
I was just going to say. There's already a set established group of heroes in this world that could, you know, Echo, She-Hulk, Moon Knight. Like there's Chris mentioned Kate Bishop. Like there's even not just Defenders aside, a lot of street level heroes that could find their way, you know, into this conflict.
Can I say why? I feel like okay, look, Oscar Isaac did leave Celebration. He is not at Celebration. People said it's for Doomsday. It could actually be for this because they're filming at the same time. Like they're filming season 2 right now. Mm-hmm. But let's say it sounded like maybe Haley Steinfeld slipped up that she was filming Doomsday in one part. Anybody that's filming Doomsday in London is not going to probably be able to film any, especially TV takes longer to film. It's probably not going to be able to film Daredevil Born Again. So that's where I'm kind of like, if they're tied to that at all, I can't see them popping up in this.
I do hope we get some clarification on what the timeline is in Daredevil too, because like where we end off in this show and like with New York being under martial law and Fisk outlawing vigilantes, and then, you know, in 2 weeks we're going to the theaters to watch a group of vigilantes save New York.
Are they vigilantes though? Val is very tied in with the government. And, you know, I don't think they're vigilantes. I think they'd be seen as part of the government. Now, Fisk may not be happy with that, but like the way I'm reading Thunderbolts is that they're the government's replacement of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm. It has much more of a Suicide Squad for Marvel kind of a feel.
Like you mean by that they're hired by the government?
Yeah, like they don't have a choice. It almost seems like so.
So I don't know if Fisk would have jurisdiction over that because I feel like so I don't expect any acknowledgement on that. Like unless you get like the next upgraded Marvel Studios timeline book or something.
Dude, even if we just get like I don't want to say a throwaway line, but basically like a throwaway line voiceover of something just explaining like, you know, the New York mayor wasn't happy with this, just something that makes it feel like the world is lived in, you know what I mean? Just to bring everything together. Cause like the close proximity of these things happening and then to just not mention it at all, period, in this movie would, I don't know, it'd feel a little weird to me. It's not going to change my experience at all, but whatever.
Maybe a throwaway line that you have to get done by 8 o'clock.
Oh, for the curfew.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think too.
What's the worst that's going to happen? What is the mayor going to come to my house and crush my head if I'm not inside by 8 o'clock?
The other side of it though is I think Daredevil was probably filmed sooner than Thunderbolts, so that's probably a hiccup in that as well. But maybe we'll get what the incident part 2. Like you know how they always called it the incident in season 1 of Daredevil for the Battle of New York. Just like incident part 2 is like Sentry just voiding people out of existence or something.
Yeah. Anything, just continue to like do that connective type of stuff as we're like starting to really ramp up into Doomsday now. Like now is when things got to start tying together a little bit.
And how when they called Hulk like the big green guy all the time, be like they could be like the shadow guy. What about that shadow guy that was blipping people?
Shadow Man.
Okay, let's talk about Gallo. He went down valiantly here. He tried to stop this.
Well, I guess, he did try.
Not much you can do when he puts you in a headlock like that, I guess, and starts squeezing your head. But he did try to put a stop to it. And Fisk put a stop to him, I guess is the way to put that.
I liked how consistent his character was, though. He's like, I was right. You can't stop being Kingpin. Like, right to his face. I don't think he expected to die there, but
Well, definitely not the way he did. Maybe he
yeah,
expected to get like shot or something, but I don't think he
Yeah.
expected to get
I,
the mountain.
I think he thought he was going to get strong armed into doing something. I don't think he thought he was going to die.
He
So
was
he's
strong
like,
armed. It was
yeah.
Very
Kingpin's
strong
arms,
arm, yeah.
though.
I saw the behind the scenes set photo
Yeah.
of the prosthetic head. That is that that is creepy as all get out looking at that. But it was very well done. Like I thought his character was so consistent and a really nice foil to Fisk. And you saw though how everyone was like bought into the point where he had people that didn't even blink an eye. I was like, we always talk about like, oh, why didn't like any of the Nazis stop and say, why are we doing this, or we shouldn't do this? Because they surround themselves by crazy people. They get the right crazies in there. And Fisk had his crazies. He had his people that would just do anything for him and not
Did he,
even bat
though?
an eye.
Did he? I felt like most of them were really disgusted by it, like almost throwing up.
There was a little like ooh around the room.
The issue
yeah.
is you're not going to stand up to him because he just did that to the police commissioner. He's going to do it to you.
Mm-hmm.
I read it as they were all for it, but
oh no, I don't think
no.
their faces were disgusted.
Yeah, it was like
I don't think they knew he was going to go to that level, but I don't think that anyone saw his head getting crushed. But like I thought they were thinking, yeah, let's give Gallo the business.
Well, it's just another thing like when we mentioned that quick little look we got from Officer Powell. When he was first like talking about putting this vigilante task force, he's just going to keep getting crazier and crazier to where like eventually I think even his own task force is going to be like, all right, this is a little much. Although if that didn't do it for you, watching him pop someone's head like a grape, I don't really know what is going to make you switch. So who knows? But
I think
good.
I was just going to say, I think like I can kind of sympathize with them in the sense of that would disgust me where I would want to out, but like, how do you take him down?
Mm-hmm.
If he can do that to you, and if he's got the police behind him, and he's got, it's like, how do you even bring this guy down other than trying to like double cross him without him knowing and trying to get like to a vigilante or like Avengers or somebody and say, this guy needs to get taken out.
I mean, dude, we see a great example of this with Sheila, right? Like she's the one that tells Fisk about all this like stuff that Gallo was like trying to essentially form a rebellion against. Yeah, and she only does it out of pure fear because Fisk strikes the fear of God into her, and it's basically the same thing with basically everybody he comes across at this point. So that's where we're at.
Well, Sheila's like, this is I can deliver something to him after he basically told me I need to get a result here. And this is like right after that. So I honestly didn't think she had it in her. I thought she was kind of going to be that stick in the mud that was going to pay the price. But yeah, she values living. Good for her. I can't blame her one bit. I mean, look what she's dealing with.
Jeez, we got you defending that. Jordan talking about sound decisions. Like, who do I do podcasts with? The fucking mafia here? Like,
hey,
sometimes you gotta whack them. What you gotta do?
Say, I better stop asking questions. I'm gonna wake up with concrete shoes.
My favorite game as a kid was Whack-A-Mole. Okay. I
will say, dude, this scene with Gallo was, if I remember correctly, pretty close in the episode to another really hard to watch scene when the kid is stealing the TV from the store they just gun him down in the middle of the street. And it's like, oh, no,
evidence.
They just pull his hat down and say, oh, no, he was a masked vigilante. Like,
it looked exactly like Daredevil's original mask.
Yeah.
Where black with the little white underneath of it. Like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was
not the scene itself, but
was very cool. Wow, we are evil podcasts today, man. This is crazy.
It was a cool touch to demonstrate wrongdoing.
Something like
Okay.
that'll be the official
Okay.
stance of the show.
We're gonna get investigated at the end of this episode.
For real.
I will say
Mob
though, like
ties.
the Gallo thing was a little bit of a stretch for me. I know Kingpin is strong, but that was a little ridiculous in my case.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think he can really do that. So,
But if he didn't follow it up by just wiping, like nonchalantly wiping his blood with the handkerchief, I think it would have played differently, because that was like he owned the scene. Like if there was a pause in there, you would have paused and said, "What the fuck?"
well, no, I mean, I think it was well acted and stuff. I just think
Mhm.
that sometimes we stretch what Kingpin can do a little too much.
They should have
Like in
set it up.
Hawkeye.
They should have set it up in the first episode. Had Gallo be like, "I just got back from the doctor, and they say my skull is a little softer than the average humans." You know what I'm
Just
saying?
soft as a baby's.
I still get my baby bump.
No one whack me in the head. I might die. Yeah.
Kingpin's like, oh, okay. This is how I can take this guy out.
He should have said. He should have said, I could have played pro football, but I had too many concussions. I'm worse than Tua right now.
There you go.
Yeah, that would have been a little insensitive. But I think I thought first
Like
you were
we
gonna
care
say
today.
like could have been foreshadowed, like when they're having that cheesesteak and stuff, and there's like ketchup like pouring out of Fisk's mouth, and he like dabs it. It's kind of like foreshadowing to this. That would have been
This is what
funny.
I'm gonna do to you.
Exactly.
Oh, good stuff. So
No
should
wonder
we?
you thought the cheesesteak was gross.
Yeah. So should we move on to the sort of the star of the episode? This whole Punisher sequence in the apartment and everything that follows, because that was definitely the highlight for me.
A low light for me, I'll say.
What?
I'm not a big Punisher guy. Like I like John Bernthal, I like that, but like I don't need to just see him like waste people every episode he's in either.
Especially your brethren like that. All the guys you love so much. Like I know that had to be tough for you.
No, it was just like I think sometimes, like I said, some of these kills they try to make like very disturbing just because they can, because it's TVMA, and I'm just like, I don't need that. Like, I do think there's some subtlety that's when it's more subtle or like implied at times. It almost does hit harder. Like the Gallo thing, I actually prefer the head in the car than seeing this, because I felt like the head in the car, you're not actually seeing that. You're getting like the illusion to what he's doing, right? Like that's probably where I would stand on like Punisher and Kingpin violence. So and I felt like it went a little long, where I'm like, okay, I get it. They're killing people. Can we? And then you get, of course, the same thing they always have, where he's like, Red, you got to kill some people, and Daredevil's like, never. And then same stuff.
Daredevil lecturing Frank in that situation is my pet peeve with the episode. It was very much could be seen as a kill or be killed situation. The sound decision would be to kill them.
Jeez, what are you doing?
All of you make me sick.
I had to go for the sound decision line. But I really think he could have said, you know what, after the fact, maybe, hey, could you not be so lethal? Because he was kind of saving his life. Like without Frank Castle there, what was Matt gonna do?
I mean, I think he holds his own.
People.
I disagree with you, Chris. I like when Matt challenges Frank on that, because I side with Matt on that. The sound decision is not to kill people. I'm on the record.
In most situations, I do. In that situation, I'm pretty much like, you got to get out of that apartment.
But he is like so Catholic. He's not going to be like, oh, I could have stopped you, but just don't do that again. Like, he's not going to do that when he's on the ground. He tries to stop him in the moment, and I think that's what makes Daredevil. It's just we've had that conversation with these two a lot, and it's just I get it's probably the first time in this show we really get that. But it's
you kind of had that in that scene where he found the bullet and he's confronting him. So I don't really think you needed it. I think you could have just sufficed with Matt making kind of a grimace at it and just shrugging it off. I think it was it almost was like a little bit like Captain America saying, "Watch your language."
It was, to me, it was maybe a bit forced way of trying to complete Matt's arc for the season. That's, we saw in the first episode, he attempts to kill Bullseye, but it was this weird thing where it's like they played up this Matt's rage storyline for like the first 2 episodes, and then it didn't really feel like it came back. Or, I mean, they had this whole nice episode where he's buddy with Miss Marvel's dad. You know what I mean? It's like it just felt like it was like the beginning of the season, and then they just bookend the season, like the last 2 episodes, with like pinning a bow on it to say, like, here he was at the end of the first, here he is at the end of the last. It's all complete. Now we can move on. So I do think it was a little forced, but I didn't hate it. It was just kind of a necessary thing they had to do to tie a bow on the season. And there's no better.
Maybe it's a little too much salt on it. Let's snatch it a bit, and I think it would have worked better.
And there's no better character than Punisher to be the one to get Matt to see that, right? He's almost kind of looking in a time machine, or however you want to. You know what I mean? It's just like, if I keep going down this path, this is what I'm going to become. So I think in that regard, it all worked fine. Didn't blow our socks off in terms of the messaging behind it. Like you said, felt very sort of lock, stock, and barrel, what you expect, no pun intended, when Punisher and Daredevil get together. That, don't kill him, I'm going to kill him. Don't kill him, I'm going to kill him. So it didn't offend me. It was what it was. It was solid. But the action was amazing. I liked it a lot.
It was awesome. No, it was fun. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Kingpin put everybody in cages, pretty much, right? Like Swordsman is in a cage. We see he looks very like GQ. My camera just cut off. He looks very like GQ, just like chilling.
He does striking
in his cage. He's like, yeah.
Stoic. He's stoic. He's just waiting for things to happen. Things that will happen.
And then we have.
Tall.
Who else did we have in there?
Anybody
else we know?
I think there were just like people that were at that in that meeting where Daniel kind of has that moment where he basically just tells them all, like, yeah, I got dirt on all of you, so you better shape your shit up. And apparently after that, they all just get locked in cages. I'm wondering why Fisk didn't just, here I go now. I'm wondering why Fisk didn't just kill them all. You know what I mean? Like, what is the point of keeping them all alive?
So you're arguing for a more sound decision?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I had to at some point in this episode, so we're all going to hell. So,
I don't know. What is the purpose of keeping them there? Is it? I don't know, because he did send people to go kill Matt, and so obviously it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe then it'd be harder to defend. Like, if Matt dies, he can say that was because of, from saving his life, right? That was kind of his thing of like, oh, he'd be a hero by saving my life, and he would have died from causes of it. Where the other ones would maybe be a little harder to wave away. That could end up causing people to turn on him and bring him down. But
there goes mine.
I don't know. But we had that post-credit scene too, where we have Frank take out a cop's arm and try to. I guess he's going to break out. Does he free everybody here then, or is he just going to free himself?
Yeah, I don't know what Frank's plan was here. I think he was just kind of doing his thing. I think he doesn't really think. He just keeps plugging along.
Yeah, it's just I would assume he's going to free. I would assume he would free everybody, but maybe not. Like, maybe he's going to be on a time crunch and get out of there. Just seems like that's the best way to help the army. So look, Swordsman, he can be part of the army once he's out.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
It did feel a little weird to me, though, to go from like the ending shot of the episode basically being like Fisk just like the shot of Punisher like in this cage, and it to me, it was like, ooh, that's going to be an interesting subplot for season 2. Like some face-to-face time with Fisk and Punisher. Like,
Nope.
what are those conversations going to be like? And it's like, nope. 30 seconds later, he's actually out now. And I'm wondering if that's just a thing of like, yeah, we agreed to this special with John Bernthal and we had to fit something in.
Oh, maybe.
So let's just make it that way.
It depends on when that takes place, right? Yeah, we don't know, I guess. That's a good point. Because I was kind of like, this post-credit scene, not my favorite in that sense. I'm like, okay, so now, like I said, if he gets everybody out of there, it's like, the cages don't matter. Why do we even have that then?
Exactly.
It's just kind of like, all right, whatever. You could just have them all be on the run anyway without that, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, he probably doesn't think he owes them anything.
Yeah, no, he's his morals are very odd and very selective, Punisher. So I don't think he's going to lose sleep over a bunch of politicians being locked in cages. Be like, serves you right, man.
I do what I got to do. I do what I have
swordsman
to do.
out.
Yeah. All right, fine. Only you.
I've seen your skills with a sword. He just tosses him a sword and says, "Good luck."
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Karen, it was great to have her back. I loved having her back. The reference to the avocados at law, really dug that.
That was a good moment.
I think overall I really enjoyed this season. I don't think it matches season 1 or 3 for me of the original show, but I think it is better than season 2 just off the top of my head, because that stuff with the hand in that season kind of just gets out of control for me, that I'm not a big fan of that. Definitely have it above Defenders. I saw somebody put Defenders above this, and I was like, I don't know what you drank. Wasn't good stuff, I guess, because that is not Defenders was not great. I've watched it twice now.
I enjoyed Defenders more than most, but it was a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it the first time and I was like, yeah, that was fine. Cool. I think it's overhated. And then I watched it the second time. I was like, I'm just bored. Like when I was rewatching it for this, I was like, I'm just kind of bored by Defenders. They didn't do a good enough job in that regard, I don't think, for the team up. So hopefully if they get those characters in this upcoming season, it's done better. And I have probably more faith in Dario and in getting that done.
Yeah.
I
would agree. Yeah, dude, this season was a blast. For me, it was my favorite of, I've said in the show, I didn't watch 3. I'm going to have to go back and watch it now. But of 1, 2, and this season, this one was my favorite. It was a blast. It was a blast to cover with you guys every week here. We had a ton of fun. And I'm just super stoked for season 2.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite season just because we talked about it every week. Like, I didn't have the podcast for the other seasons, so like it's a completely different experience. But I think the best season would be season 1, and season 3 kind of, take a flip there. But this is really good, and I enjoyed covering it with you guys. I thought it was fun. I thought, I like that. Heck, I'm one of those people who like that bank heist episode. I liked every flavor I was given. So.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the season overall, but it's just, it's hard to equate them because they're just different shows as a whole too. But I think part of it is just like the unevenness of this, which I actually liked every episode. Like I'm not anybody that's like, I hate when people do this, but when they call something like ass, and the people are doing that about episode 7, and I can't stand it. But I'm like, I thought episode 7 was fine. Was it the best thing ever? No. Like, and I feel like there's not that room in discussions anymore of like, it was fine. It doesn't have to be ass. It doesn't have to be amazing. It's just like, it was good. Like, I liked episode 5. I liked episode 7. I didn't mind the Muse stuff, but like when I look back at it, I'm like, I really enjoyed probably season 3 the most because of that Bullseye story and because of how it was a full season arc over those 13 episodes that we didn't get here. But I also really liked, I think also some people have been putting on some people were praising episode 3, which was part of the original run, right? And then episode 9 comes out and are like, oh, only those new episodes were good. The other episodes sucked. I'm like, you guys loved that courtroom episode when it released. So Now you're just switching up. And
Actually,
it
the
drives me nuts.
courtroom episode might be one of my favorites. Like if we were ranking episodes,
Yeah, it was good.
that's
It'd be up
top.
there.
Like
It was
it's top
probably the
3, top 4.
closest, probably the closest to the original show in that regard too. Like I feel like I'd put that one up there. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty damn good.
we are at Soups and Sabers on all of our social medias. We have Ron and I discussed the Star Wars Celebration news that came out this weekend. So that episode is up. You can check that out. I'm sure Chris and I at some point will touch base on the Superman behind the scenes little thing that just came out and the scene that came out, all that kind of stuff. We'll touch base on that sometime soon as well. So keep your ears and eyes peeled for that. But that's it. That's everything we have kind of going on. Andor starts this upcoming week, so make sure you're shifting back into Star Wars mode here. Okay?
We are going to get so much mileage out of that. It's going to be the new Theo Bibble picture, 100%.
Every time we go from a DC to Marvel to a Star Wars thing, I'm using that. All right?
100%. 100%.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time when we start talking Andor Season 2.